Hi, and welcome to Untethered with Jen Liss, the podcast that's here to help you break free, be you, and unleash your inner brilliance. I'm your host, Jen, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how to stop playing the I'm not enough game and become your own expander. Let's dive in. Hey there, friend. It's Jen. Welcome back to the podcast. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. This is a very happy Tuesday because of today's guest. And also, we just had the Awaken Your Brilliance virtual retreat on Friday. It was so freaking phenomenal. Loved it. Stay tuned for more retreats in the future, in person, online, wherever. I freaking love getting together with a group of amazing people and making transformation happen. And that leads in so beautifully to today's podcast guest, Tracy Litt. Tracy is a spiritual advisor, mindset coach, and powerhouse visionary leader herself who leads other visionary women leaders and entrepreneurs. She's a sought-after keynote speaker, TEDx speaker, international best-selling author of Worthy Human. She and I align a lot on some things, but she said something on the internet a couple of weeks ago where I was like, okay, I have got to ask her to come on the podcast to tell me about this because we're going to talk about it a little bit, but I'll give you a little preview. She had said something about women stop using this phrase woo-woo when you talk about spirituality. And she's going to tell you why here in the podcast. And I was like, oh, I felt called out because I use that phrase and I actually use it in the way that she's telling us to stop using it. And so I'm going to be mindful to discontinue using that phrase and to own my beliefs and my spirituality in a really powerful way. And I think she's such a beautiful model for that. And you're going to see it and you're going to feel it in this episode. Now, whether you consider yourself a spiritual person or not, I invite you to be curious and to open your mind and open your heart to what Tracy has to say, because there's a huge paradigm shift that can happen for us when we really start to own the fact that we are more than just this human thinking brain. And it's what breathwork helped me to do. It's what I help other people do with breathwork too, is to come in fully recognize that there is more to you than what you thought there was. And in fact, what you are actually is so fucking brilliant. And it would just make my heart swell for you to own that and to know that. And I hope that today's episode with Tracy helps you to really see and feel that in a new and expansive and powerful way. So without further ado, everyone, welcome to the podcast, Tracy Litt. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
I'm
so excited.
Me too. Like we're just like bubbling with excitement. You are real with a capital R. You are lit with a capital L, literally. And I just know that for my listeners, it's like you say all of the things that women need to hear. This is what I see in you. You're saying the things that like nobody's saying this, but I'm going to fricking say it because it needs to be said. I don't know if you feel that about yourself, but that's how I feel when I hear messages from you.
Thank you for seeing me, really, because that's exactly what I do. And my ability to always be fully self-expressed not only allows the truths, the messages, the clarity that all women deserve to hear from the most loving place. This fullest expression of self is one of the biggest things I can model for every woman everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And so many of us don't even fully understand or know what that means. I say that as somebody who has been on the journey to it. So seeing somebody model it in such a powerful way is huge. So you being who you are and doing what you do and showing up authentically in this way every day it's a freaking gift.
Thank you. I received that.
Yeah. Hey, Tracy, I asked you specifically to come on. So I was introduced to you through a friend who tagged you, and I think she went to one of your events, Ariel. And I was like, this person's intriguing. Started following you. Yes, like nodding at everything that you say. And then a few weeks ago, you posted something about where you were talking about woo. And let's stop saying woo woo. Let's stop saying woo. And we're coming directly off of a month where I've talked about breath work and spirituality. I'm a breath worker, and I've specifically talked a lot about my own spiritual journey. So this is the best time possible for you to come in and be like, let's cross correct something that we're all saying. Why do you have a problem with people saying the phrase woo woo?
So, because you're denying the truth of who you are, baseline. So let's back it up. Here's the scientific truth. And no, you don't get to argue because this is the scientific truth. You are a spiritual, energetic being having a human experience. And when you use woo woo or you hear woo woo, it disconnects you from half of the truth of what you are, which is the spiritual, energetic being having this human experience. I find woo woo to be such a disservice because it creates separation, right? It becomes, what's normal isn't normal. It's just common. And then it becomes normal because it's so common. So you have so many people in common using woo woo, and then it just becomes this phrase. And what ends up happening is it's acceptable because everybody uses it. But what's really going on underneath it is a form of your skepticism. It becomes a form of self-protection. So it's like woo woo. Like I don't do it's woo woo. Like I don't do that, right? Because I don't understand it. I'm afraid of it. And if I allow myself to actually get in touch with the truth that I am a spiritual, energetic being having a human experience, then I actually have to start to let go. I can trust and I can relax and I can recognize that scientifically there's something much, much bigger than me and you and us and the whole thing going on here. And there's oneness. And the truth of who I am is like love and trust and abundance. And that is so the opposite of the third dimensional consciousness that we live in, the control matrix of our society, which is lack, fear, and separation based. And it keeps pushing that. So it makes real good sense. Then it's like, yeah, it's woo woo, and you dismiss it. But what you're doing is you're cutting parts of yourself off. And quite frankly, the part of yourself that allows you to breathe and relax and be connected to yourself and others and trust and live into your bigness and your capacity. Nobody is doing anything in their greatness, all in their humanness. That's not a thing. That's called burnout and hustle and push and pushing matter against matter. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Doesn't work. I think we've discovered it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You know that. It's like you already know the experience you're having. So like, let's not watch that movie 35 more times. Let's expand and go into the remarkable place of the unknown. And let's work together to say, no, it's not woo woo. Because also, when you understand the definition of woo woo, it claims that it's a belief structure based on no scientific basis. But that's not true because spirituality is science. Huh? What? Yeah, it's science. That's part of understanding that we were derived from this point of singularity, this void, right? This hot, hot, hot ball of fire that then exploded 14 billion years ago in the Big Bang. And that's when the universe was born. And that's when speed of light occurred. And then speed of light is what allows us to see each other, this computer, matter. And when you recognize, okay, whoa, so what this woman is telling me is I am derived from exactly what the stars and the sun and the moon and the stars and the atoms and the galaxies and everything else is made of? Yeah, because you are 99.99999% energy and only 0.001% matter, which is really, really exciting because the only problem that you actually ever have, wait for it, Jen, you're just being too human all the time. That's it. And because Woo-woo is something that's circling around you, or it's something that you perhaps subscribe to. You keep yourself human, and you don't receive any of the magnificent help, support, co-creation, synchronicities that the universe, which you are derived from, is waiting to give you.
The way that you describe it, I mean, I know that you know it to you know it. There's a difference between believing and knowing and knowing and knowing. You know it.
You get it. You get it.
And that level of knowingness of something is like, that is when I know that I am in my zone of genius, because you're just so passionate about it that we can feel it. And I freaking love it. It's just so good. It's so good. This is just a love note to you, Tracy. But if somebody can at least entertain this,
Sure.
there's people listening who fully believe it and they're like nodding their head and they're like, frick, yes, somebody's finally saying this.
Yeah.
There might also be a few people who are like, okay, cool, that sounds interesting. She really believes it. I'm not so sure. Why, wherever you fall on that progression, why should we believe in our spirituality? Like, what difference does that make in our lives?
Every difference. Every single thing that you are currently seeing as a problem, everything that you are chasing and grasping and wanting and needing so badly, every external result that you believe is going to finally give you some emotion that you've been making it dependent on, every dream that you hold. I know that you believe that it has to be really, really fucking hard and you should experience, like exhaustion and burnout. And you have these things in your belief structure because we were all raised in similar generations. If you're hanging out here with Jen and you're with me, we're all coming from the same kind of drip process. I talk about it in Worthy Human in my book. Our great grandmothers dripped on our great grandmothers, who dripped on our mothers, who dripped on us, and then we drip on our kids. And the whole way we were raised was be strong. You are separate from, get it done, work your ass off, grind, hustle, chase. You're as good as what you do. Your value is dictated by your corner office or your revenue in your company or how you look on the outside or how big your house is and all of these things. And this whole really, really low level consciousness, externally driven paradigm, which is the thing that's killing you slowly because you have all those things and you still don't feel good in your inner environment. Let's just call it like it is. When you allow yourself to go, whoa, if I jump on her train for just a little bit, even if just for the rest of this conversation, and I say, okay, I'm willing to be open to the truth that I am a spiritual, energetic being and I'm in this human experience, that I'm a spirit in human form, that there's an objective to my soul. There's all of these components to it. You start to experience an opening energetically and in your body. You finally actually, like for a second, you're like, oh, ha, ah. So it's not just me pushing and striving because that's so tiring and it doesn't have to be that way. Also, when you allow yourself to subscribe to the truth, the scientific truth, you also don't have to play the I'm not enough game anymore. That game ends. That game is a third dimensional consciousness construct. The truth is that you are whole. You are whole. You are worthy because it's inherent in your birthright. And you can start to operate from that place. So it's like there aren't enough results for me to say what happens because it's literally everything. You start to see with new eyes and hear with new ears, and you elevate out of judgment and comparison and control and overwhelm and other emotional addictions of the like. And you no longer perceive things through the lens of problems, which is a lower level consciousness perspective. And you see things through creation and opportunity. We start to move you from this survival body because if you aren't allowing yourself to believe the truth of your spirituality and your energetics, then you are 1,000% living in a state of survival. At the level of your nervous system and your body, you are living in what we teach as a survival body, right? Where you're constantly going and you're constantly running and your to-do lists have to-do lists and you're subscribing to I'm as good as what happens outside of me. And then you're literally just playing tennis with yourself about how you're not enough and how you need to be more than enough. And that's so exhausting. And it doesn't have to be that way. Because when you elevate up into going, okay, fine, she's getting to me. I kind of understand. It would be nice to breathe. It would be nice to know that the universe is my safety net. It would be awesome to actually realize that I'm in co-creation with greater intelligence. Let's play with that magic and see what happens.
I think that's where that is the message that really finally got through to me personally was why would I choose that when I could at least play around with trying this?
Yeah.
Because we're choosing to constantly that tennis. Yeah, we're playing tennis with ourselves. It's like this terrible game of ping pong. We're exhausted.
You're exhausted
With all of the worry and the doubt and the guilt and then our self-development is kind of spending even more time in that space a lot of times. So what makes your view of things different? Because it does feel like you have a little bit of a different point of view than a lot of self-development workers do.
Thank you. I really appreciate that because we do, and it's really important to me. And it makes me emotional because I know everybody listening needs to hear it. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. And when you step into an identity evolution journey, a gorgeous, intentional, transformational journey where you learn this whole truth about what you are, we are only doing it from the lens of your wholeness. And that's a whole different game. When you are approaching working with yourself, evolving, changing, transforming through the lens of not enoughness, inherent in that is, I don't matter. I'm not significant. There's something inherently wrong with me. I am broken. I need to be fixed. That's like trying to move while you're standing in quicksand. It's like trying to progress. You're never going to. It's just going to eat you alive. And then what happens is it puts more, from a brain science standpoint, more focus and attention in what's wrong with you. And then we lose progress because where we place our focus and attention is where we place our energy, and it's what gets returned to us when you understand what's happening, like in between your ears, which is part of this too, right? You are whole. Everything else is a lie. Everything that happened to you and around you and everything you saw from your parents and your grandparents and your religious leaders and your coaches and your siblings and your friends and the soccer team you didn't make and the fact that your father abandoned you and the sleepover that you didn't get invited to and all these little dings that we all experience. The meaning that gets created when you're young and you don't have the consciousness and you don't have the perspective to go, well, wait a minute, that's clearly not about me. My father's limited and he made that decision to leave for himself. We have to realize, and we get to go in from a place of wholeness, not let me heal perpetually forever, because that's also something that's not cool. And if you're coming at it through a lens of fixed or broken, you're just constantly feeling like you have to excavate. Why? Where is it coming from? Why? Where is it coming from? We want to build an awareness over like, oh, isn't it interesting that that's what I made that mean when I was a little girl? But then what we need to do is work with your body, right? And as a breath worker, you know this. Somatics is a massive part of our work and mind magic and everything we do in the School of Becoming, because it's not so much understanding the story of what happened, because also the latest brain research on memory says that 50% of what we perceive we remember is inaccurate, like for sure. Which is kind of scary.
My husband would tell you that about all of my memory.
Exactly. Be like, that's definitely her. That's definitely her. So funny. It's so true.
As I can now scientifically say about his. So,
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
we don't. And then what happens is we just continue to practice the lie. Right? We're always practicing something. We're always embodying something. So what I want to invite you to do is stop practicing the old program and start practicing the truth of your wholeness. How do you feel in your body when I tell you you're inherently whole? Just jump on the train for a second. The truth about you is you are inherently whole, worthy and fully enough because you're breathing. You don't have to do anything. All of a sudden, just like a little like, what? Oh, okay. You know how many hours of the day you're going to get back? Because you're going to start to go, holy shit. Let me tell you how many hours of the day I was questioning myself, insecure, not showing up, not using my voice, not having boundaries, not being honest about my needs, not getting my own needs met, not making offers, not being visible, not publishing the website, not doing the book, not doing that collaboration, all the stuff. It's not a byproduct of the external. It's a byproduct of your identity and the way you see the world. So I'll pause because I could keep ranting.
Yeah, it's what you're describing there is an incredible shift. So I worked in court. I know that you did too. You worked in the corporate world. And one of the things that we said, I was an employee experience strategy. One of the things that one of my mentors at that job said was fall in love with the problem. And something about that always kind of rubbed me strangely. It was like, I see what you're saying and it makes sense, but there was something about it and I couldn't put my finger on it. And now I realize that it's like, why aren't we falling in love with the solution? Why are we falling in love with problems? Why are we thinking so much about the problems? And that bigger concept comes into play in the self-development world when we're focusing in on this is the problem, then we're just like in this corner with our tinker toys.
My God, I love you. I love you. I feel so seen by you because I just did a whole podcast episode about this on the How Within, because we do that. And then did you ever see Tommy Boy with Chris Farley?
Years ago, yes.
Do you remember the scene in that movie where he's with David Spade and they're in the restaurant and he's holding the roll and he's like, and I hold my sail and I love it and then I squeeze it and then I kill it, right? It's literally like what we do. We hold our problems, we look at them, we coddle them, we get more myopic about them. Then we talk to 72 people about what our problem is. And then we start to trust ourselves less. And now all of our energy and our focus is in the problem and our survival body is getting even more jacked up. And when we're in our survival body, our prefrontal cortex goes offline and you're completely unavailable to find any solutions. And while you're over here holding your problem and looking down at it, being myopic and all stressed and all fixy about it, all the potentials and possibilities that are a completely different experience from the field are walking by you and you can't even see them because you're myopic and you're focused in the wrong direction.
And not only that, you're actually like grinding your little precious baby of a
right, exactly. You're killing it. You're
killing
killing it. You know what you focus on expands. Baseline.
Yeah.
So where's your focus? Where's your attention? And when you touch base with your spirituality and your energetics, you recognize the infinite amount of potentials and possibilities that exist at any moment in time, all the time, all at once. And what is available as a solution is right. It's right there. And you won't experience it because you're faced the other way, focused on your problem.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. As we're talking about this, I am thinking your example there of him holding that role is so good because there is a difference between falling in love with something and nurturing something and supporting it and just like loving it to pieces.
Yeah. And I mean, and love is the core. Love is everything. I mean, love is everything. This is all about emanating and returning to the truth of what we are. We are love. We are pure love. We are derived from that pure love and that pure consciousness and that oneness. And we are so one with everything, with each other, with our desires, right? If it's yours, it's yours. Relax, detach. You can't fuck it up if you try, because if it's actually yours, it's yours. It just feels so much better. It's such an exhale. It's such an expansion in your nervous system. It's such a frequency raiser. When you really, really go, oh, wow, okay, I'm going to loosen up. And it's something that has to be worked on at the level of your nervous system to actually experience safety in that ease, right? One of the things that perpetuates the woo, right, and that skepticism is because at the core it's self-protection. Because if you do open up and you expand and recognize all of the parts that you are and this wholeness that you are, that means change. It means unfamiliarity. Things are going to shift. You are going to become different. You are going to get what you want. You are going to have it all. And at the level of your nervous system, that's a big fat no.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm sure people could even, as you were saying that, your body starts to viscerally be like, at first it's like, oh, that's really good. Wait a second.
Yeah, of course. And that's part of really understanding like the the completeness of an identity evolution journey, right? The way that we deliver it. It's all of those things. It's the beauty of the spirituality and the energetics, and it's working with the nervous system in your humanness, right? It's emotion. Oh, emotion. I could talk about emotion for years, how suppressed and repressed we are. And, when we talk about spirituality and energetics, we all know that, high vibe, right? I mean, how often do we post memes about it, and everybody wants it. And if you're not expressed, it doesn't matter what you're doing for your vibration because it's not an authentic, potent, palpable vibration. Allowing yourself to shift your relationship with emotion, knowing that it's important and healthy to feel emotion is absolutely not the same as feeling your feelings until they're done being felt and unearthing the 10, 20, 30 years of I disassociated from that. I don't want to feel that, right? Because, oh, and now it's not high vibe. No, it actually is. And it's the only way to a real vibe, like a true vibe, because then you're clean and clear in your body and your field can get more potent. And it's like, It's juicy.
It is juicy. Thank you for describing that in the way that you did. So with all of this said, we've spoken about the woo and embracing your spirituality and how that can impact your life. We've talked about expanding into the possibilities about the nervous system. What do you think first and foremost, like the number one thing that you see that is stopping people from living their most lit up life?
A gross misunderstanding of the biology of fear. That's what my TED Talk was about. So my TED Talk was on fear for this reason. We've been taught to fear emotionally. We've been taught that fear is a stop sign. We've been taught in a very masculine lens in the growth world to feel your fear, do it anyway. Push through. Go. Just do it. Drives me nuts.
The voice was really essential to that.
Thank you. I feel like I must be theatric with it in order to deliver it effectively. You're welcome. All of that actually makes the fear louder and more pervasive and stronger. The truth is that fear is biological. It's beautiful. We need to appreciate it. We need to love it. And we need to understand that it shows us where our growth edges are. We need to understand that it's like walking down a pathway and there's lights and it's illuminating as you're walking. Because it's like, yes, baby, more. Here, this direction, right? And when you understand how to actively love your fear, and part of that means loving your nervous system and providing it the safety that it needs, then you quickly not only become the version of yourself that you're capable of becoming, but the clarity of the path shows up and your ability to acknowledge the clarity of what you want also arrives. Because the second thing I observe is like this pervasive, I have no clarity. People believe they have no clarity. I'm just not clear. If I was clear, I would just get after it.
But biggest thing I hear.
Right? Okay. Lack of clarity is just fear in disguise. That's all it is. It's your fear response, and you haven't understood at the level, the biological level, and the way that, we're talking about fear and the way that we teach fear, that lack of clarity isn't, in fact, lack of clarity. It's just normal because it's common. So, oh my God, me too. If I was just clear, then XYZ. No, you wouldn't. You're experiencing lack of clarity because you're afraid, because as soon as you had clarity, you've got to move your ass and you've got to do the thing. So lack of clarity serves as a protective moment in time to keep spinning out and staying the same and affirming your current identity. So yeah, fear, and fear then manifesting as lack of clarity.
Yeah, that's really powerful. That idea that fear, that lack of clarity is fear in disguise. One of the things that I teach with my coaching clients, we do this exercise where we draw a stake and then we dress it up in a silly outfit. And that's fear when it arrives, because it's a snake that's like wearing a mustache and a hat. I have my snake picture here somewhere, but and so it's kind of that same concept, but it's really your friend. Once you actually take the costume off, it's like, oh, I didn't realize that you were actually just here to help me and to support me. And it's like the bumper bowling. It's the two sides of the lane, and it's just helping you to move along your path. So that's what I was seeing as you were saying that, is like it does actually make it more clear for you. It's much easier for you with the fear because you're bouncing off of it if you could see it as your friend instead of seeing it as this bad thing.
Yes, and you have to. If you're going to do anything, if you're going to, any of the things that you are here and you're in this beautiful community and audience with Jen, whatever you're here for, foundationally shifting your relationship and understanding of fear is a requirement, because it's about loving it. It's about taking your power back from it. It's about a dramatic shift in your relationship. One of the things that I shared this in the TED Talk. I was out for a run once. This was a year into me building my business, and I don't run, by the way. So this wasn't like, oh, Tracy's on a run. This was like, there was some shit in my body and I needed to do that or kill someone. So while I was out for the run, I realized it like came into my crown, and it's like, oh my God, it's not you, it's me. Oh my God, it's not you, it's me. And I ran back to my house and I opened my laptop, and I usually effort a bit with writing, but this poured right out of my fingertips. And it literally started with, Dear Fear, it's not you, it's me. And I wrote the most profound Dear John letter to fear, and had the most dramatic, energetic shift and transmutation of how I was feeling. And that letter is part of our IP now. It's part of everything we do. Every woman we work with writes this letter to fear, because when you realize fear shows up when it perceives that you're not safe. And there's a difference between fear and danger. And anything you're going to do in your greatness, healing, growth, expansion, ascension journey is absolutely, unquestionably not danger. It is the beauty of your fear response that's perceiving, ooh, that Facebook Live, that conversation, that book, right? That appearance. I don't have evidence that she's done this before and lived to tell the tale. I have to save her. She's my person. I'm here as her survival. And when you realize that, and then you love the fear and you bring it close to you and you talk to it and you personify, and you're like, hi, I know you think I'm going to die by being interviewed, but I'm not, right? We're going after our dreams, and it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be unfamiliar. And we have to play in the unknown, because if it was known to us, it would already be our current experience. And then you actively, when you do this, and I show this, I model this in the TED Talk, you feel the shift, and all of a sudden you're like, yo, all right, now I have my power back, right? And the power is no longer with the fear. And then the way you relate to fear and the lens through which you see it is, anytime it comes upon you, the emotion of fear, number one, you know what to do. And more importantly, you know that's the growth edge that it's time to lean into. And then you become.
So beautiful. What a paradigm shift, the way that you describe fear. And I agree with this. One of my favorite quotes is, everything that you ever wanted in life is on the other side of fear. What I think is so important about that quote is facing your fear. It has nothing to do with, it's on the other side of it. It's showing you what the one side is.
Right,
here's the edge. I think you called it edges, which is beautiful.
A growth edge. A growth edge I describe as like equal parts terrified and equal parts excited.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Yes, you're right there. And when you lean into this growth edge and you expand your capacity for your nervous system to hold what lives on the other side, you're going to become an expander for yourself, and you're going to evolve your identity, and you're going to there's certain things that instantly reprogram you, that instantly shift your belief structure, that instantly change the way you see yourself in the world and what you're capable of. And when you lean into one of your own growth edges and you become the expander for yourself, which is different than like watching you do something and be like, oh my God, if she could do it, I could do it, which is super helpful. From a rewiring, reprogramming standpoint, there is nothing like you doing the thing and then coming to the other side of it and witnessing yourself and being like, damn, look at that.
That idea of becoming an expander for yourself. What an empowering concept. There's so much power in that, personal power.
Yeah.
Becoming your own expander. Yeah. So is there anything that we have not covered today that you're like, I just really think that people need to know this? Anything that we haven't tapped into? And that could be spiritual. That could be just a development thing that people want and need to know. What do you think that might be?
first I want to say yay us, because this was a very yummy, comprehensive conversation. So I'm like, what is like, it was really space, the essentialism of space, spaciousness, nothingness, rest. That's coming through.
I love that.
It's also a massive paradigm shift, and everything is, right. We're building a new world. That's what's happening here. That's why everything has gone on in the past, decade, and there's an ascension occurring, and the collective consciousness is rising. And part of contributing to this new world as a beautiful, beautiful woman is more space, more rest, more goddess energy, more asking for help, more support.
And that's where creation happens. It's where the creativity, it happens in the space between. It's where the connection.
Because you're now not in a survival body. You're in a safety body. And in the safety body, you're available and you're in creation mode, right? And you're being nurtured and you're actually spacious. You're spacious of mind. You're spacious of body. You're spacious as in, I'm going to do nothing today. And my clients laugh sometimes. They're like, so what do I do? I'm like, nothing. Like, what do I do? I'm like, no, doing nothing is a thing, like literally nothing. Be. And see where your body wants to go. You want to take a walk right now? You want to sit down? You want to lay down? You want to just be? You want to just stare? Right? Just this concept of, I have nothing on my calendar. I have nowhere to go. I'm not going to fill it up, because that's what happens, right? Spaciousness might be a possibility, but you fill it up. And because I love you, like you and I clearly are in love. And that means I love people that love you, who is all of your listeners. The deeper reason that you're not allowing yourself to be in the space and be in the rest and be in the nothingness is because it feels scary, because you start to feel shit. You start to recall things. You start to sense things. And that's not how, we were raised, and it's not how you've raised yourself up until now. So we fill it up and we just add things, because the busier we are, the more neck up we stay and the less connected we are to ourselves. And it is a truly scary experience in the beginning, because you don't want to know what's down there, So that's my addition.
Thank you for that addition. I sometimes describe it that we're the head of the headless horseman, like our body is off somewhere galloping somewhere else.
Love you, exactly.
And when it comes back together, it's terrifying. It's like, wait, what is this thing? Like, there's this body that's suddenly there. Like,
yes.
Oh, shit, let's just cut it back off and send it back out.
Exactly. And that, and that whole, we call them neck uppers in our work, right? Like everyone comes in a neck upper, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to reassociate to this thing. And, sometimes I'll show a picture literally of like the nervous system and the mind and the body. I'm like, you see this, right? Like you see the heads connected, you see the brainstem going into the spine. Like this is indisputable. And it's just when we put a woman back in her body, we put a woman back in her power. And that's part of what your work is and my work is, and anyone that is a light worker, which I consider all of us that are doing any work for the progress of this world. That's the focus.
Mic drop. Tracy, I have one last question for you. I ask every guest who comes on the podcast, where do you see the magic in the world?
In the ordinary miracles. In the birds in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee, and my kids, they're grown now, but their eyes when they wake up in the morning and they're still sleepy like when they were younger. The door that automatically opens when I walk into the grocery store and I don't have to touch anything, and smiling at the person that walks by me, and just the beauty and the abundance and the miraculousness that is the world we exist in. It's mesmerizing.
Really, you brought tears to my eyes. My nieces were just in town, and we don't have children, but I'm very close to my two little nieces, and just those sleepy eyes when they wake up, and there's just nothing like a little kid's. Just one morning she came in and she was just like at the foot of our bed, just waiting for my husband and I to wake up. And I'm just like, I will treasure that little ordinary moment forever. It was so sweet. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And my daughters are now 17, 19, and 20. And when they're home from college, and they like wake up here and I look at them, I'm like, don't move. That's your sleepy face. That's your cute 3-year-old sleepy face. Just wait one more second.
Mom's just drinking it up.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Tracy, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you, work with you, follow you, all the things?
Thank you. So, social media wise, come hang out on Instagram at the Litt Factor. So it's the Lit with 2 T's, Litt Factor. We hang there. It's me in the DMs, like talk to me. We're there. It's awesome. The schoolofbecoming.com is where I want to invite you to go to really start intentionally evolving. We launched the school in September. It is magnificent. It is a new revolutionary institute of higher consciousness and intentional evolution for modern trailblazing women. And we have a library with so many free resources, and read and watch and listen and go enjoy, create a free account, take the free assessment, just go play in the School of Becoming. And I also want to share that Powerhouse is happening at the end of January. And Powerhouse is now 5 years running, and this is going to be the last year, because my higher self told me it was time. It is 3 days of you come as you are and you leave the next level version of yourself. It's all inclusive. It's in Palm Beach, Florida at a beautiful resort. And it's happening January 10th through the 12th. So I would love to mention that to you so that you can explore it if you want to go deeper.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that and for sharing everything that you shared today, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I just loved every second.
Ooh, I know you took something so good, so juicy, so powerful, so magical away from this conversation with Tracy. Would love to hear what you think about it. If you enjoyed this episode, took something away, take a little screenshot of this episode right here on your phone, share it on social media, tag me, tag Tracy. We are those kinds of gals who will reshare everything that you tag us in because we love you and appreciate you so much. If there was something that you know a friend would really benefit from, share this episode with a friend. I will talk a little bit about it, threading out another little piece of it in the Thursday thread episode on Thursday, so be sure to tune into that. It truly means the world to me that you would listen to this episode right here. You just keep shining your magical unicorn light out there for all to see. I'll see you next time.